This happened in 2007. I was just 19 when this incident occurred. It was a late night, and I found myself walking home from work all alone, with no one to give me a ride. At that time, I didn't even have a phone. The most challenging part was that it was 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was really tired from work. My home was less than 2 miles away, a mere 15-minute walk on a night like that. On that day, I was feeling under the weather, catching the onset of a cold. Adding to the discomfort was the freezing weather, well below freezing, being February in my town. I swear, I had barely been walking for about 2 minutes when a truck rolled up behind me. I thought, great, as it stopped right behind me. And the driver, a frail-looking man in his mid-30s, called out, "Hey cutie, you need a ride? It's freezing out here. I have the heat on in the truck." I looked at him with disgust and shook my head. Though it was slightly tempting, I couldn't bring myself to accept. I knew it was extremely dangerous to get into a car with a stranger late at night, even if he claimed to be offering help. I never would have known his true intentions, but I didn't want to take that risk. He drove away, seemingly offended, but I was just relieved he was gone. If I were sure he wouldn't harm me, I might have considered letting him take me home, but dealing with a random creepy man wasn't something I wanted to entertain. After about 2 minutes, he rolled back around, this time coming from the opposite direction. With only 4 or 5 minutes left in my walk, anxiety crept in. I was scared to see him again. What did he want now? He rolled up right next to me on a long stretch of road. I started wondering, did I not accept the ride because he thought I found him sketchy? Was it the way he looked? I had a horrible feeling when he pulled up next to me again. I was doing some thinking as he mumbled, "Where are you going?" "Just to the apartment complex down there off of Brady Road," I replied. He suggested I hop in, and at that point I was annoyed and over being cold. I convinced myself that the chances of him trying to hurt me were low, or at least that's what I told myself. I agreed to let him take me home. He jumped out of his truck with an abnormal amount of excitement, almost like a little kid. It gave me the ick and almost changed my mind. He walked over to my side, opened the door for me, and eagerly told me to get in. As I prepared to enter, I saw a pistol under the passenger seat and a pair of handcuffs in plain sight in the middle console. Without saying a word, I decided to book it. No screams, just a run through a nearby cornfield, which happened to be a shortcut to my apartment. I heard him screaming and hurling names at me as he burned rubber. Disappearing without a trace, he didn't attempt to chase me. When I got home, I shared the entire frightening encounter with my roommate. She urged me to call the police, but in my tired and shaken state, I chose not to. Perhaps it was a lapse in judgment, but all I wanted was to be home, in bed, finally able to relax after such a long day. Looking back, I doubt he had any intention of taking me to my apartment. It was likely a ruse to lure me into his truck. I should have trusted my instincts and stuck with my initial decision. A lesson learned. I was 24 years old and had just graduated from college. I was trying to make ends meet by working the third shift at a rundown gas station in a rough part of my mid-sized town. It was the kind of place that had seen better days, surrounded by flickering streetlights that barely did their job, attracting all sorts of shady characters. The night was cold and quiet, and as time passed slowly, I found myself as the only worker left. Jim, Kyle, and Melissa had long gone for the night, so it was up to me to hold down the fort. I didn't usually work the third shift, and I hated it. It was when the sketchiest stuff happened, something Melissa had warned me about from her years of experience. Now, it was just me and the distant hum of the refrigerators. I couldn't help but wonder why I had taken this job in the first place, but bills needed to be paid, and it was the only work I could find at the time. Around 1 a.m., 2 rough-looking men on motorcycles pulled into the gas station. They were older biker men, the kind you'd see in a gritty crime drama or a run-down dive bar. One had a long, scraggly beard, and the other had a scar that ran from his cheek to his ear. They looked like they'd been through hell and back. Trying to be polite, I gave them a nod as they approached. "Hey, how can I help you guys tonight?" The scarred one, later named Dennis, grinned at me with a crooked smile. "Fill her up, kid. I'm on pump 6, he said, tossing me a crumpled $20 bill. The other, named Bob, simply stared at me with a cold, calculating gaze. When I gave them their change back, Bob spoke in a low, menacing tone. "Kid, you see a lot of crazy stuff working here, don't you?" Nervously nodding, I felt a growing sense of unease. "Yeah, you could say that." Exhaling the sickly sweet stench of whiskey, he continued, "You ever see things you're not supposed to see here?" I shook my head, trying to inch away from them. "I don't know what you mean," I said. Bob's hand shot out, grabbing my wrist with a grip that felt like a vice. "You sure about that, kid? Because we've been watching you. We've seen you talking to the wrong people." Panic set in as I realized they knew more about me than they should. It was as if they had been following me, and I had no idea why. "Look, I don't want any trouble. I'm just trying to do my job," I said, making my skin crawl. "Kid, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time," Bob hissed. They left me on the ground, battered and bruised, as they revved their motorcycles and sped away into the night. I lay there for a minute, gasping for breath, trying to make sense of what just happened. My body ached from the beating. After mustering the strength to get up, I knew I had to report the incident to the police. But the fear of retribution lingered. Those bikers had left an indelible mark on me, a chilling reminder not to mess with people like them. I still don't know what I did to piss them off. I honestly think they just enjoyed messing with me. This happened in 2015, almost 10 years ago. I was just 19 years old at the time. It was a typical evening, and the clock was getting close to midnight as I put on my blue Walmart vest and got ready for another night of stocking shelves. The store was quiet, with only the distant hum of refrigerators and occasional creaking of shopping carts in the large aisles. My job for the night was simple: restocking the grocery section. As I filled the shelves with cereal boxes and canned goods, I heard faint whispering. Initially, I thought it was the hum of the ventilation system, but the whispers started sounding distinct, almost human. I tried to ignore the uneasy feeling, thinking it was just fatigue and the emptiness of the store. However, the whispers persisted, and I couldn't shake the growing sense of not being alone. As the clock approached 1 a.m., I went to the frozen foods section. The aisles seemed endless, and the freezer cases cast long shadows on the tiled floor. That's when I saw a fleeting silhouette at the edge of my vision, darting behind frozen pizzas. I hesitated, my heart pounding. "Hello?" I called out, but there was only the low hum of refrigeration. Curiosity got the better of me, and I cautiously approached. To my surprise, no one was there. The frozen food aisle was empty, and I scanned for any sign of a hidden person, but there was nothing. Shaking off the eerie encounter, I continued my rounds, convincing myself that fatigue had played tricks on me. However, Walmart had more in store for me than just restocking. In the electronics section, surrounded by the glow of TVs and the soft whirring of gaming consoles, I heard footsteps echoing through the emptiness. I turned, expecting to see someone, but the aisle remained empty. The footsteps continued, growing louder and closer, as if someone invisible was pacing towards me. "Who's there?" I called out, but the footsteps abruptly stopped. I stood there, half expecting a response, but there was only the hollow hum of ventilation. Moving to the clothing section, I felt watched. The neatly arranged apparel seemed to hide eyes, and the air grew tense. The clothing racks began to sway, and the hangers clinked together. I approached cautiously, and a soft voice whispered, "Help me." The voice vanished, leaving an unsettling calm. The night continued with whispers in grocery aisles, phantom footsteps in electronics, and haunting voices in clothing. Walmart, seemingly alive with unseen forces, showed a side beyond the ordinary. Later that week, I felt really uneasy to work there for the night shifts. I informed my manager about the incident. Since then, I've been working in the day shift, even though they reduced $200 from my usual pay. In 2009, I was 24 years old at the time. I always liked staying up late, so when I got the chance to be the nighttime cleaner at Greenwood High School, I thought it'd be cool. The school, on the edge of town, had some rumors, but I needed a job, and working nights seemed okay for some extra cash. The first time I went into the big empty halls after everyone left, it felt kind of creepy. The lights above were flickering, casting weird shadows. Being the only cleaner wandering through the classrooms and halls, it felt like someone was watching me. Greenwood High had been around for a long time, I guess from around the 1940s, and I heard stories about the good times and maybe some not-so-good ones. My coworkers were gone during the night, but I still felt like they were around, just invisible. My job was simple, like mopping and cleaning stuff. Each night, as I pushed the squeaky cart through the dark halls, I couldn't ignore the sounds of the old building. It felt like the school was whispering secrets to me, things it kept hidden for a while. One Wednesday night, things felt different. Fog covered the place outside, and the moon made everything look strange. Going inside, it felt heavy, and my usual cleaning routine turned into a spooky dance, with every noise getting scarier. Classrooms, super quiet during the day, now felt like there were invisible people inside. The board still had lessons from the day, glowing a bit. My footsteps echoed, mixing with rattling windows and the distant tapping of fingers on keyboards nobody was using. Around midnight, I got to the gym, and something felt off. The big doors, usually locked, were open a bit. I hesitated, looking around, but only shadows were there with me. Opening the doors, the gym was kind of dark, just emergency exit signs giving some light. The air felt weird, like something was there. The basketball hoops looked like creepy fingers reaching out. Walking to the middle, a whisper caught me off guard. "Leave," it said, like a warning. My heart raced, looking around for where it came from. The bleachers and trophy cases seemed to hide something darker. In a corner, I saw a shadow moving. Squinting, it looked like a person, but it disappeared when I blinked. Fear took over as I grabbed my flashlight, lighting up the space. The gym, now in bright light, had nothing strange, but the voice got louder. "Leave before it's too late." I rushed out, the doors closing behind me, trapping the weird whispers inside. Going back through the halls, I felt like the night was part of something strange. Reaching the janitor's closet, an icy chill hit me. The door, usually easy to open, resisted like it was hiding a secret. Pushing against it, the door opened to darkness. A cold breeze came out, making me shiver. Inside, the cleaning stuff looked like it had a life of its own. A clearer whisper came from the closet. "You shouldn't have come here." My flashlight fell, the closet door slammed shut, and I was in the dark. Whispers surrounded me and panic set in. Feeling around, the door finally opened, letting me out. Retracing my steps, whispers followed like phantom footsteps. The school, once calm, now felt like it was part of something spooky. Putting away the cart in the janitor's closet, the door resisted again, like it wanted to keep its secrets. Getting outside, the weight lifted. The moon made the school look mysterious. The whispers, though faint, stayed like a creepy melody, a reminder to leave some things alone. The story of that night, with weird encounters and unknown forces, stuck with me. It felt more like a bad dream than real life, making my nights at Greenwood High more like a journey between the everyday and the supernatural. As the sun rose, casting shadows that disappeared with the night, I left the ghostly hug of the school. The janitor's cart, now a silent witness, carried the traces of a night filled with spooky stuff. The halls, once familiar, now echoed with unseen whispers as I walked into the fading dark. Greenwood High, quiet and unaware of the nighttime weirdness, would fill up with students again. They wouldn't know about the strange things happening at night, secrets hidden in the shadows, And so, the tale of the janitor, mixed with whispers and forces beyond understanding, faded into memory. The night, once just for regular cleaning, became a world of strange things. A trip through the supernatural parts of a school that had secrets best left alone. Working late nights at the gas station was always kind of spooky, but nothing could have prepared me for the scary stuff that happened on this night. As I counted the minutes until the end of my shift, I felt uneasy and even more bored than usual. At 23, I thought I had faced my fair share of challenges, but what happened that night was beyond anything I could imagine. Standing behind the counter, absent-mindedly rearranging snacks, I noticed a shadowy figure lingering near the gas pumps. A chill ran down my spine when I recognized the silhouette. It was him, the man who had bothered and bothered me on and off for years. My heart quickened, and beads of sweat formed on my forehead as he walked into the store. His presence alone was suffocating, and memories of past botheration flooded my mind. I tried to keep my composure, reminding myself that I was no longer the vulnerable target he once knew. But as he approached with a sinister smile, I realized I was wrong to underestimate the fear he could cause. "What a coincidence seeing you here," he sneered. The fact that I was now single seemed to fuel his predatory intentions. He faked a sense of familiarity, acting as if he was my boyfriend returning from a long absence. Panic set in as he refused to take no for an answer. When I insisted I was uninterested in restarting any kind of connection, the atmosphere grew tense, and I felt the weight of his aggression escalating. The air thickened, and a mix of anxiety and overheating made me feel like I was going to pass out. Desperation must have gripped him, and his attempts to push my phone number turned into a violent struggle. In an instant, he lunged towards me, grabbed me, and dragged me out to his car. He started hitting me and yelling at me to stop screaming, trying to force me into the car. Luckily, I put up a good enough fight. Just as I was about to lose all hope, a guardian angel in the form of a passerby burst out of his car. The stranger, sensing the urgency of the situation, bravely intervened. A huge fight broke out between the two, and I saw the entire thing. The man who rescued me was much bigger and easily de-escalated the situation. With a final loud blow, he sent my botherer running away into the night. I stood there trembling but also grateful, as the man helped calm me down and called the police. He even stayed to give a statement and his side of the story. The whole thing was caught on camera, and the police were able to see he was only trying to protect me, meaning he did no wrong. Unfortunately, I don't know my botherer's name, and the police couldn't seem to identify the man enough through the lousy cameras. So, he's still out there somewhere. I had to quit my job because I was terrified he'd come back. Even now, I have to wonder if he knows where I live. He's never showed up at my house, but I didn't think he knew where I worked either.